Dude, if I could time travel and give myself the advice I'm about to give you, I would make so much more money with so much less work. Do not start a podcast in 2026. I know it's tempting. You want to just set up that microphone and start yapping, and everyone is doing it. And I get it. It sounds really fun. It is fun. And I want to tell you, I'm speaking from experience. I started a podcast with my wife 5 years ago. We got over 2 million downloads. Maybe more. It might even be closer to 3 million. My wife and I created a multiple six-figure business because of this podcast. We've made over $1 million from this business. And the podcast was a pivotal part of our sales funnel. Basically, what we would do is we would grow our social media accounts and direct people to the podcast. And once people listened to the podcast, we would CTA our business in the podcast. And because it was long-form content, it would convert really well. We rarely converted customers that didn't listen to our podcast. But here's what nobody tells you. Growing a podcast is extremely difficult. Nobody actually cares about you. You're just a random person yapping. It's like a stand-up comedian doing open mic to 4 people. And those 4 people, trust me, they've never heard of the stand-up comedian. They don't care at all. Just make me laugh. But here is the biggest problem with starting a podcast that nobody tells you. Podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify or any other podcast app does not give you organic growth. The only reason our podcast was successful is because we had existing social media followings. And even then, it was an absolute grind to grow this podcast. It was all on us. Every time we ended up ranking on the podcast charts, it was because of our own social media marketing efforts. Every time there was a spike in downloads, there was a direct correlation to a video on social media going viral or performing above average. Most of the ranking charts in the Apple Podcast app go based off of the amount of new subscribers you got within the past 24 hours. But how do you get new subscribers on a podcast app? You don't really. You have to push your own subscribers and you have to push your own growth. Nobody tells you this. You think you're just going to post your podcast and then the podcast app is going to show it to people and you'll gain new listeners. It just doesn't work like that. Most podcasts fail because they post the first 5 to 20 episodes and they realize nobody's listening. It's just your friends and family. You'll get 30 to 100 downloads per episode and people just give up. That's why there's so many podcasts that have started and haven't got past the 20 episode mark. They just die because people realize really quickly, what is the point of this? And don't even get me started on trying to get your podcast clips to go viral on social media. I edited and posted podcast clips for 3 years straight. I know all about this subject. It is extremely difficult to find sections from a long form podcast that will perform well on short form social media. You have to find a hook in the first 3 seconds of the clip. And doing that from long form content, depending on your topic, obviously some topics are going to be easier than others. It's very, very hard. Maybe 1 in 100 or 1 every 200 videos would get over 30,000 views. But here's another problem. People see these massive podcasters and think, oh, that looks fun. I could do that too. What they don't realize is what's going on behind the scenes for these people. Most of them have massive followings outside of their podcast. For example, Mel Robbins, she has a #1 podcast. Look at all of her social media accounts and her YouTube channel outside of the podcast. She's bringing her own audience into her podcast. Or someone like Alex Hormozy is doing the same exact thing. Regular old people starting a podcast are swimming upstream. Nobody wants to hear just random people talk unless you're exceptionally good at talking, which is just really hard to do. So what would I actually do instead of starting a podcast in 2026? I would start a YouTube channel instead. Now, let me stop you there if you're rolling your eyes. If you've tried YouTube in the past and it didn't work for you, just hear me out. Because I did the same exact thing for several years. I would post a few videos, I wouldn't get any views, and I would give up. But a few months ago, my wife started a brand new channel. She started it about 2.5 months ago and she's at 25,000 subscribers already. I figured out the trick to learning YouTube. Let me just explain to you why it's so important. Imagine you're opening a restaurant in a dead shopping mall. There's no foot traffic. It's going to be really hard to get people to come in and eat your food. That's kind of what it's like starting a podcast. But starting a YouTube channel, if you do it right, it's like opening a restaurant in one of the most popular parts of a downtown city. Tons of foot traffic. People just walking around because they like the vibe of the town. Maybe they stumble into your restaurant because it looks promising. That's what it's like to start a YouTube channel. Because here's the thing, YouTube is really good at finding people that would like your content and it recommends it to them. But the catch here is though, is that YouTube needs to learn who your audience is, and it takes a while to do that at first. And people give up before it can actually even do that in the first place. Now look, I get why people love podcasting. You just set up a mic and you start yapping. It's pretty low pressure. You don't have to think of thumbnails or titles and stuff like that. There isn't really any strategy involved. You're just kind of sitting down and talking and you just press record. YouTube is more work. work. You have to learn marketing. You have to study what's working and why. It takes a lot more effort. But here's the thing. That's what exactly kept me stuck podcasting for 5 years. I never had to learn any of that. Podcasting let me skip the hard parts. YouTube forces you to learn marketing. You have to learn how to write good titles. That's copywriting. Thumbnails is design and psychology. How to craft a good hook. Retention. That's pacing and structure. You're not just making videos. You're getting really good at marketing. And those skills will transfer everywhere, including back to podcasting if you eventually decide to do it. And the reward for that extra work is not even close. Let me show you what I mean. So here is my wife's podcast. She started this new podcast at the very beginning of September. She has 57,000 downloads. And keep in mind, she has 50,000 followers on TikTok and 55,000 followers on Instagram, where she's driving this traffic to. 57,000 downloads. And then let me show you her YouTube account. She posted her first real video, I think on October 10th. 811,000 views. You see the difference here? 343,000 views, 120,000 views, 100,000 views, 23,000 views. Look at all the views she's getting on these videos. It's an absolute grind to do this with the podcast. And like I said, we've been podcasting for 5 years. We know what the numbers and the downloads and the analytics look like over time. It's not even comparable. This is what happens when you build a restaurant on a busy street. And this isn't slowing down at all. If this continues, it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And look, I'm not saying podcasts are dead. I'm saying that if you're starting from zero and you want organic growth, you're fighting an uphill battle on the podcast apps. Long form content still works. If you're building a business and you want to make money online, I think it's essential for you to learn how to do long form content. It's so much easier to convert buyers from your long form content than it is your short form content. If somebody is spending that much more time with you, it's just more opportunity for you to gain more trust with them. How many TikToks or Reels does someone have to watch to equate to an 8-minute video? And you're at the mercy of all these algorithms continuing to push your short form content to that same audience over and over again. It just takes way more time to build that trust to get somebody over the fence to make a purchase. So the format isn't the problem. It's where you put it. I highly recommend starting with an algorithm that wants to help you. The podcast apps, in my experience, do not want to help you. If you learn YouTube and you build the skills, you can add a podcast feed later. Hell, you can even take your YouTube videos and put it into a podcast feed immediately if you want to. And if you want to learn exactly how we grew Maggie's channel so quickly, I made a video about that here. At the time of recording that, she was at 14,000 subscribers and now she's at 25,000 subscribers. So you can learn all about that strategy in this video here.